Richard Strauss, is when he wrote this piece, he based this piece on when he heard Beethoven's Eroica Symphony, and he wanted to make his own version of a hero's life, Ein Heldenleben, a hero's life. And basically it's his own autobiography about himself, because he always saw himself as the hero, the man who stood out there with all the critics saying that his music was just really atonal, they did not understand his music. But him as an artist, he stood for what he thought was, his musical ideas, his compositions all clearly remain his very own signature all over it. And so this piece is, I think, it's a battle between his inner self and his outer self, because outside then people are criticizing him all over the place, and inside he wants to make this work, this story about how he confronts humanity, about how they treat him. Therefore the name A Hero's Life, and the hero is actually himself. And what's interesting about the piece is that it also contains one of the biggest concertmaster solo violin parts. And the story behind this violin part is that obviously the violin represents him, and him as being basically Napoleon himself, and then the orchestra interludes representing the people who are listening to his music. So with all these stories behind this music, you can compare it to almost like the Berlioz Symphonie Fantastique, where it's written with a clear form of storytelling. So almost like listening to a story, and with a flamboyant, virtuosic violin solo. It's one of my favorite pieces in the orchestral repertoire. I will feel very comfortable playing with Jaap, because him as he was a concertmaster before, and he probably recorded the piece many times, and I know that he will ensure that the orchestra will sound at the top level. And every time I hear soloists work with Jaap, I mean, he always makes the performance and the performers feel very comfortable, and musically speakingly comfortable. And you know that the end result will be fantastic. I think it's one of the pieces that requires the most brass players. There's 8 or 9 horns in this piece, and it's going to be a huge orchestra, and basically a big party on the stage. And we're all going to be working very hard for this concert. Well, listening to Strauss is, I would say, is almost like listening to something like Brahms or Tchaikovsky, but even twice more intense. So I wouldn't say that there's a particular thing or particular part that you need to listen to, because you will be drawn to every note from the beginning to the end, because the music is really just very intense, and it's the peak of romanticism, the end of 19th century, the beginning of 20th century. And the music, I believe, will just take you away.